Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Joseph Ward, and welcome to my On the Shoulders of Giants YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you share this channel and that notification button. Click that notification button so every time I drop a new video, you will know what's going on. African history at your fingertips through this channel. You're getting biographies of your sung and unsung heroes right at your fingertips. So tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend about On the Shoulders of Giants. Well, you can learn about yourself and we tell our own stories. Hey everybody, how you doing? I am Joseph Ward and welcome back to my On the Shoulders of Giants YouTube channel where we deliver African history directly at your fingertips in many different formats. Thank you once again for tuning in. So today I want to give information about the Stono Rebellion. I know I've already made a video about why aren't we taught about our rebellions, and we know we're not taught about our rebellions. And so I decided, hell, I'm gonna go ahead and give you more information about some of our rebellions. So today we're gonna cover the Stono Rebellion. I give you information about the Stono Rebellion and my thoughts about the actual events, the things leading up to the events, the actual events and the aftermath of the events, and how that those chain of events affect us today. So, courtesy of blackpast.org, which is a great African history blog. That's the source I'm using today to give you information about the Stono Rebellion. So once again, that's blackpast.org is the site that I'm using. It's a great website to get good African history information. So on Sunday, September 9th, 1739, the British colony of South Carolina was shaken by a slave uprising that culminated in the death of 60 people. Led by an Angolan named Jimmy, a band of 20 slaves organized a rebellion on the banks of the Stono River. After breaking into Hutchinson's store, the band, now armed with guns, called for their liberty. As they marched, overseers were killed and reluctant slaves were forced to join the company. The band reached the Stono River, where the colonists descended upon them, killing most of the rebels, and the survivors were sold off to the West Indies. After the Stono Rebellion, South Carolina authorities moved to reduce provocations for rebellion. Masters, for example, were penalized for imposing excessive work or brutal punishments for slaves as a school was started so the slaves could learn Christian doctrine. In a colony that already had more blacks than whites, the assembly also imposed a prohibitive duty on the importation of new slaves from Africa and the West Indies. Authorities also tightened control over the enslaved. The assembly enacted a new law requiring a ratio of 1 white for every 10 blacks on any plantation and passed the Negro Act of 1740, which prohibited enslaved people from growing their own foods, assembling in groups, earning their own money, and learning to read. Now, things that could have led up to it, the immediate factors that sparked the uprising remain in doubt. A malaria epidemic in Charleston, which caused general confusion throughout the Carolina, may have influenced the timing of the rebellion. The recent passage of the Security Act by South Carolina Colonial Assembly also may have played a role. The act required all white men to carry firearms to church on Sunday. Thus, the enslaved leaders of the rebellion knew their best chance for success would be during the time of church slaves, when armed white males, the slaves knew that the best time basically to act was during church, where the armed white men were away from the plantations. Basically, I messed that last part up, but you get it. So in a small synopsis, that's what the Stono Rebellion was. A rebellion in South Carolina at the time, which was one of the largest slave rebellions in the West, and it was led by a man named Jimmy. So the rebellion happened because for one, nobody was happy with being a slave. Let's just be real. No matter what you learn, or nobody was happy being a slave. And Jimmy, being a leader that he was, or being the leader that he was, basically got other slaves on board who were willing to fight for their freedom. And the spirit passed along from person to person. And it started off with a small number of people, and it grew, and it didn't grow a significant number, but it grew. But that rebellion put fear into white people, into the slavers. So from that, the slavers passed the Negro Act of 1740, which prohibited slaves from growing their own food, assembling in groups, earning their own money, and learning how to read. Now that's significant because, first of all, if you don't have the ability to grow your own foods, then you can't really sustain yourself the way you want to. So they're making you dependent upon them. And see, that's why we need to learn about these rebellions, the things that led up to the rebellions and the aftermath of the rebellions. Most of the rebellions were started because people were tired of being enslaved. And then so they took advantage of the best opportunities to fight for their freedom. And that's exactly what they did. We had some rebellions that were successful, and we had some that wasn't. But we don't learn about them all. That's why we're talking about the Stono Rebellion. So like I said, prohibiting a group of people to grow their own food basically makes them dependent upon you for food. And you can give them what you want to give them in the quality that you want to give it to them. Right? Also prevented them the ability to assemble as an organization, as a group, to come together, to organize. It took away the ability to organize. If you can't organize, you won't win confrontations. You won't win battles. You won't be able to truly defend yourself and fight for your true freedom if you're not organized. We see that today. We're not organized, and most of us don't grow our own foods, right? The ability to earn your own money, making you dependent upon them once again, dependent upon the state, dependent upon your masters for resources, for money and resources. When you have money and resources, you have the ability to liberate yourself. If you don't have money and resources, you don't have the ability to liberate yourself. You will always be dependent upon those who are oppressing you if you don't have the ability to do that. Now today, things are a little different. Some people don't have the ability to earn their own. Some people gave up their ability. Some people just don't use their ability. Things are a little different, but we can see the fallout from that. We can see the mindsets from that. It's a psychological part of it. I just did the psychology of racism and prejudice. They create these mindsets, and these mindsets are passed on from generation to generation. They took away our ability to learn to read, so we can't educate ourselves now. So we can't learn how to better ourselves. We can't improve our critical thinking. They don't want us to have access to information. They don't want us to understand that we too are human beings. We have the right to self-actualize as human beings, and they don't have the right to oppress us or enslave us and treat us as we are less than. We are not taught about our rebellions for a reason. The state of South Carolina hosted one of the largest slave rebellions in American history. And this rebellion sparked fear in the hearts of the slavers, as did all rebellions. So that's why they also put one white person for every 10 slaves, because they wanted to try to control the numbers, because they knew they were outnumbered by the slaves, right? Being outnumbered, out-organized, out-resourced, and out-educated by a group of people will make you very, very, very weak and very vulnerable. So the slaves used the resources that they had to start and sustain the Stono Rebellion as long as they could. Now imagine if they would have had access to more resources, education, allies, and all those sort of things that will help a rebellion grow and become successful. When you have access to resources and information, allies, supplies, all those things, you will be successful. If they had the weaponry to match what the white people had the numbers, had the resources, supplies, they would have won. These are things we need to learn. We need to study our enemies, know our past, understand what we're truly up against. but know that we have the ability to free ourselves. We have the ability to liberate ourselves. It is our job to liberate ourselves. This Stono Rebellion is a great story. I encourage each and everybody to go research it for yourself. Stono Rebellion happened in South Carolina in 1739, September 9th, 1739. Hey, man, that's it. Joseph Ward, On the Shoulders of Giants. Remember, my new book, On the Shoulders of Giants, Volume 2, Central America, is available now on my website, www.ontheshoulders.org, as well as my blog, www.ontheshoulders1.com. Got these nice t-shirts, books, apps, information at your website. See y'all later.